You're listening to Paranormal Optimist. My name is Stephanie, and in this podcast, we dissect paranormal topics from the perspective of skeptics, believers, and everyone in between. At the end, it's up to you to decide. Are you a paranormal optimist? Welcome to another episode of Paranormal Optimist. Before I tell you about the chaos of today's episode, just a quick reminder that you can find where to follow the show through the links in the episode description. If you have an episode suggestion, an experience you'd like to share, or would just like to say hi, send me an email to paranormaloptimist@gmail.com. Just to lay out the current situation, I am recording several episodes at once right now, and at the time of this recording, I haven't released any of them yet. So hopefully someone out there is actually hearing this someday, because that means that future me figured it out and did the thing. For present me, that sounds like a miracle. But anyway, after recording a couple episodes that were heavy in research and dove deep into the history and science of paranormal events, I wanted in this episode to move in a different direction, temporarily, and do something a bit lighter and more familiar to the casual fan of the paranormal. And the universe served up the most amazing opportunity, a Bigfoot sighting, within driving distance of my home. The thing is, the universe always gives me exactly what I need, even if it's not exactly what I always want. I won't be doing a deep dive today into the history or biological plausibility of Bigfoot. We can save that for a later episode. There are so many great historical cases that I'm sure it will come up eventually. Originally, my game plan was to just give you an overview of the news reports, talk about the investigations, and then follow up with an interview I did with some friends of the show who are local to the area. Then I recorded it, and what came out was just a bit too quick, too simplistic. I could tell that the interview portion was going to be a lot more fun, and it was going to overshadow the rest of the episode. So I made a judgment call. I scrapped the whole thing and started over from scratch. So instead today, the format is going to be a little bit different. It will be more conversational and will have more input from differing viewpoints. So what you're getting today is much better than what I planned originally. I'm really excited about it, and I hope you love it. All right, we have transitioned to the Monroe Bigfoot episode 2.0. Today I am joined by the lovely Jessica and April, and all three of us are pretty local to the area of this sighting. So Jessica, please don't dox yourself, but how far are you from Monroe?
I'm about 45 minutes away.
Oh, okay. What about you, April? How far are you?
I think I'm about the same, about 40 minutes away, maybe a little bit closer.
Cool. Yeah, when I looked it up on Google Maps, I am about an hour and 10 minutes away. So pretty damn close to a Bigfoot sighting. And I really didn't think that that was going to be a thing that I would have to deal with at this point in my life. All right. So as everyone knows, I scrapped my original version of this episode. Oh, actually, I don't know if you guys knew that, but I scrapped my original version of this episode because I wanted to try to do something different. What I was thinking about doing today was just reading bits of what I had before, and then we can kind of stop and discuss as we go. And you guys can just jump in whenever, divert the conversation. There's no rules. So before we dive in to the actual story, I just wanted to take a look at the area where our big-footed friend was spotted. So for my friends who are not in the US, Michigan is located in the Midwest, and it shares its borders with places like Ohio and Indiana, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Canada. Michigan also touches 4 of the 5 Great Lakes, Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, and Lake Erie. The state is split into 2 land masses called the Upper Peninsula and the Lower Peninsula. And there's a lot of variation in terms of geographic features, population density, wildlife, and even climate, depending on where you are in the state. The Upper Peninsula is sparsely populated and has a rugged terrain consisting of lakes, rivers, wilderness, and mountains. And that brings me to my first question. Did you guys know that there were mountains in Michigan?
I did know that. I know
Wow.
that they're way more north than we are,
Yeah.
but I did know that.
So am I the only one who didn't know that there were mountains in Michigan?
Honestly, I think I knew that there were some in the Upper Peninsula, but I
Okay.
thought that all of the mountains or quote unquote mountains that were here were actually just landfills. Because like I go
Oh.
skiing, so like most of those are
Oh my
actually
God.
just old landfills. So Mount Holly and like other things, they are just old landfill that they turned into a ski hill.
which we're
What does
happy
this
about.
say about us? What does this say about
Everything it
us that
needs
we
to.
we thought that the mountains were just piles of garbage? Okay,
Yeah.
no. But no, I legitimately had no idea. I had no idea that there were mountains in Michigan, and I feel dumb now, but that's fine. All right. The reason why we don't know a ton about these mountains and whether or not they're made out of garbage is because we all live in the lower peninsula, along with 80% of the rest of the state's population. So down here, it's more urbanized and it has a flatter topography. There is abundant and diverse wildlife all over the state, but the larger animals do tend to stick to the north, but we do see them down here sometimes. But I'm talking about things like bear, moose, wolves, and even the occasional bobcat, lynx, and mountain lion. And yeah, I wanted to ask you guys, do you remember that slight big cat craze we had here in Michigan in the 90s? Do either of you remember that?
Unfortunately, I do not. I don't think.
Oh,
I do very well.
oh,
I tried actually finding the news article or news clip, but
mm-hmm.
my dad's best friend was on the news because he had the big cat print. Like, I believe
Oh, that's
he's
so
passed
cool.
away since then. Sorry, but he had
I mean, it
it.
was a long time ago.
Yeah, he had it molded. He put like cement in it and molded it, and he had it like framed. It was a big cat. You couldn't tell me otherwise. So he saw it. He said it was a giant cat.
Yeah, I mean, like, I definitely don't believe that it was, a thing that didn't happen. I totally believe that they were here because they live here. I think people just don't realize that. Like, we have mountain lions, we
Oh,
have big cats here in Michigan.
so just so you
Yeah.
know, that was when we
Hmm.
were younger and we lived pretty close together, and that was only about
Yeah.
5 miles from us. Hate that.
I hadn't thought about this in years, but when I was working on this episode and I was reminded that we have big cats here in Michigan, I suddenly remembered the big cats craze, like the big cat craze in Michigan in the 90s. And I remembered people saying that there were like cougars all over the place. I mean, there were probably mountain lions. And they were saying like, oh, keep your kids inside. And I remember like I definitely went directly outside to look for the big cats because, the
Same.
90s were wild. So
Same.
like I remember sitting in lawn chairs in my front yard with my sister, and we were just sitting there waiting to see if we could see like a big cat. Like, what would we have done? We were so stupid. But all of this to say, in general, there's just a ton of wildlife all over Michigan, even in my backyard. I mean, I can look outside literally any day and I can see rabbits, deer, turkeys, and even coyotes. I can see those things any day of the week. So, Jessica, you live now in an even more rural area than I do. So, do you ever see anything crazy? What kind of animals do you see?
Yesterday, actually, we saw two big mama deer come into our backyard. We have our yard kind of fenced in, and they like to destroy our garden by bedding
Yeah.
down in it. Like, if you look, you can see exactly where they lay. And they usually have their babies in our backyard. So we saw the two mamas, and they had three baby fawns with them. And that was really cute. And as you know, I just literally in the past few weeks released three baby raccoons from rehabbing. So,
Yes.
it's like Cinderella in my backyard here. It's like princess story.
Yeah. So yeah, Michigan's crazy. So and April, I should have told you about this, but I remember once when I was driving back from your house, I saw a squirrel in a tree eating a piece of pizza. So
It's my
like
favorite story.
it was holding a full triangle slice of a hot and ready from Little Caesar.
Yeah, that sounds like the squirrels in my neighborhood.
I don't know if
I
that's like a
love it.
normal occurrence for you or like what kind of animals do you usually see?
Mostly squirrels. There's a lot of birds too. Actually, not too long ago when I was driving home from work, a deer just randomly walked in front of my car. Like it was fine and everything, but it
That's good.
walked down my street and I was just like, "What are you doing here?" Cuz I live in a more like city area, so it's kind
Yeah.
of weird to see a deer in my area, but I hope it's okay. I hope it found its way to a more foresty area because there are spots of forest around, but
It's just going to Little Caesars. It's
yeah,
fine. So
probably.
I heard from
I
the
will
squirrel
never
friend.
forget that.
Oh
I will
yeah.
No, it's
never
my favorite
forget that.
story.
We get like possums and raccoons and stuff here too, though.
Oh yeah, I have a picture with a possum too. I gotta stop.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I need to stop
possum
touching wild animals.
possums are so cute. I can't blame you. But
I love them.
And skunks. Oh, I've seen a skunk too. They're really cute.
Oh yeah, your parents were they like taking care of a skunk, or was it a possum, or what was
Both.
it?
They had a whole little wildlife here too. Like you wouldn't expect it in my area. They had a raccoon, they had a skunk, they had a possum, they feed some cats. So my parents love animals.
We're doing fine here in Michigan. Don't worry about us.
We just love
So
animals.
Yeah.
yeah. So like when I heard that there was some large animal sighting that happened here in Michigan, I wasn't shocked. I wasn't shocked about that, though it was a spicy sighting like Bigfoot. But what I am surprised about is that it happened in Monroe, because Monroe is located in the southern part of the Lower Peninsula. It's further south than all of us, and it's in one of the most densely populated areas of the state. But it turns out that cryptid sightings, and even specifically Bigfoot sightings, are not unheard of in Michigan. So I did a Google search right before this and found out that there have been 225 reported Bigfoot sightings in Michigan. And that's like official reports recorded by the Bigfoot Field Research Organization. So who knows how many sightings there's actually been, but there's been 225 confirmed sightings in Michigan. Most of the sightings do happen in the UP, which is what we call the Upper Peninsula, but the Bigfoot Field Research Organization, also called BFRO, their website does have record of quite a few Lower Peninsula counties listed as well. And there were no sightings in my county. I think maybe we all live in the same county. There was no sightings in our county at all. But I was surprised to see more than a handful were within an easy driving distance from where I live, where you guys live. So I'm not sure what to do with that information, but now I know it.
Run.
So yeah, run, right? So that brings me to this part. I think it's a good time to ask before we get into the bulk of the story, how do you guys feel about the fact that there was a reputable Bigfoot sighting so close to where you live? And I don't care who goes first.
So I don't like that. Not a fan. Because I live in the boonies and it
Yeah.
gets really quiet out here. So
Yeah.
after I heard about that, I was like, well, I'm not gonna sleep with my windows open anymore. So I don't do that.
Oh, I have a good story about that later.
Oh,
Surprise.
good. No, not really. I mean, like, I'm not like that scared. I'm mostly joking, mostly. But yeah, it doesn't really faze me, I guess. Like, it's creepy, and I would rather not see one.
Yeah. So mostly negative is how it sounds for you. Is that right?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. What about you, April? How do you feel about this? Do you have an opinion?
I'm kind of excited about it just because I don't think Bigfoot will show up around my house. If Bigfoot has proven anything in the past is that it's the master hide and seek champion and does not like to really bother people for the most part. So as long as it stays to that and keeps to itself, I think it's cool to have a local cryptid and mystery kind of in the woods.
Yeah, so that's kind of how I felt about it. So I think I got swept up in how cool I thought it was to have a paranormal thing happen near us. But then when I talked to Jessica about it, it was like she was coming at it from a more realistic standpoint and pointing out that it was actually probably scary and probably bad. And I was just like, oh yeah, maybe you have a point. Like it was like I thought it was so cool, but then I was like, but if it's real, then it's real and it's a thing I have to deal with, and that isn't cool, I guess.
Oh,
So
for sure. If I saw it, I don't think I'd be okay.
Well,
yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. So this was hunters that had seen it, correct?
Yeah, they were fishing.
Oh,
Yes.
fishing. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So
Bow
these
fishing.
hillbillies, but they the thing with that is a lot of times when you go fishing or hunting, you go out very early, and the reason that this kind of set me off a little bit was not set me off, that's the wrong word, but like made me anxious about it or the idea of it is because I go hunting alone and I go out when it's dark and you have to walk a certain way so you don't make noise. So
Yeah.
you hear everything. So you'll be walking out and like a raccoon run out in front of me one time and I about hit the floor because it sounded like a monster was coming to get me because your senses are like amplified.
A really
So
good point.
yeah, this is not to discredit what I'm going to say later because I knew this one, but it was getting to be later in the day and like towards dusk. And I heard like a really big rustling. And if anybody knows anything about deer hunting, deer are actually extremely quiet when they come out. It's usually squirrels that make a lot of
Mhm.
noise. I heard like big rustling and I couldn't see far very well. And all I saw was like this big round black thing running at me. And now I was in a blind. I was like, oh my God, it's like a bear or like freaking coyote or something. I didn't know. And it was just a turkey that was puffed up. So not cool, but I figured it out. So just,
I love that story so much.
I don't think my heart's ever
To your credit,
went that fast. Go on.
turkeys are much bigger in the wild than I expected
Yeah,
them to be.
Yeah, because
they
they're
really are. And
dinosaurs.
when they run, first off, because they don't fly well, so when they run, they like wobble, but they wobble extremely fast, and it's alarming if they're coming right at
Yeah,
you.
they're velociraptors.
Pretty much without the teeth.
Yeah, but they can do some damage though. So, I mean, did I send you
Oh,
guys that picture I took literally on Thanksgiving last year of my backyard and there was like 25 turkeys back
Yes,
there?
I think you did.
And I was like, oh my
probably.
God, they're coming for us.
They know.
All right, so extremely off topic, but yeah,
I think
so
it's on topic.
with all of this, hopefully, we have established that while Michigan is not the Pacific Northwest, it does have a ton of biologic diversity and it's had its fair share of strange reports. So let's talk about what happened in Monroe. So I'll just summarize what I read from a few different places. If either of you found anything else, feel free to jump in. They all pretty much said the same thing. So pretty much everything I read seemed to share the same facts, and those are that a 47-year-old father, his 12-year-old son, and their hunting dog all spotted something amazing and, per their reports, terrifying while bow fishing in Monroe. The location of the sighting was a marshy area near I-75 in the vicinity of Tamarack Creek. I'm pretty sure I've never been to this area. Have either of you ever been anywhere near here?
I mean, if it's by 75, then I'm sure I have, but I don't think I've ever heard of that exact place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've probably driven through it, but I don't think I've ever stopped there or spent any time around that area.
Yeah, I mean,
I think
now
I've
that I
only
say
been
it,
to Monroe once.
yeah, I don't think I've ever actually been to Monroe, but I've definitely driven down 75 to go to, other states. So that's the closest I've gotten. So, all right.
Yeah.
So, one thing I noticed when I was reading these articles, it's just one of those things I will never understand, is why mainstream news outlets cannot report on these sightings without obnoxiously asserting how stupid they feel the prospect of Bigfoot is and how, quote, crazy the witnesses must be. So, luckily for this sighting, I was able to find a couple articles which focused more on the story rather than trying to like make fun of the storyteller, but it's still frustrating to see the same dumb, lame jokes and lazy writing that's been recycled ever since the first media popular sightings in the late 1950s, because I guess I understand skeptics who bash UFO sightings. I mean, I don't agree with them, but I understand them because, seeing a UFO, it shatters their tiny little worldview and it makes them feel scared and icky, so they have to bash it. I get that. But like, what is so laughable about the possibility of a large, unknown, yet earthly animal? It's not paranormal, it's just an animal. So like, I never understood that. It just seems so weird to me. So what do you guys think about that? Why are people so afraid to believe in something just a little bit weird, like a big animal?
I would, so when people don't know something, they're uncomfortable with it, right? Kind of like
Yeah.
you had said. I think that people that, like us, that enjoy this kind of stuff, we're like, no, that's kind of cool that we have
Yeah.
stuff that we don't know about. I mean, I think about it like the ocean. Like, just
Yeah.
because we can walk everywhere and see stuff doesn't mean that we're going to see everything. So, like, if in the ocean, but there's so much we don't know about. So, like,
Yep.
why is it? I never understood why it's so weird to think about on land that we all of a sudden just know everything. Like, we're still discovering new animals, it's still happening.
Yeah.
And if there's only one or two in every, couple 100 miles square radius, then of course you're not going to see a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
So people are just uncomfortable with the unknown and don't know how to have fun. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. Did you have anything to add, April?
Yeah, I would also mostly agree with what Jessica said, because I think people don't like it sometimes when their perception of reality is broken and they want to rationalize it in a way that they understand rather than dream of new possibilities sometimes.
Yeah, I don't understand the question and I refuse to respond to it. So, all right. So, according to the article I found, This sighting occurred at 11:30 a.m. on May 18th. And I thought the time of day was a really important factor because it was a broad daylight sighting. I thought that was really exciting. Well, for me at least, but they probably didn't think so, the witnesses. Regardless, at 11:30 a.m. on that day, the group was walking through the area when the dog ran ahead of them because it scented something. Then they reported hearing a rustling noise and a heavy thud as an enormous animal dropped from a nearby tree. So they saw that happen. They saw the animal drop from the tree. They said it dropped from a height of about 10 feet. Both people described the animal as a gorilla-like creature, and they emphasized that it was not a bear and specifically stated that it looked like it had a gorilla's face and had a body covered in long black hair. They then stated that it began to move in their direction, hunched over, but still walking on two legs. The dog then charged at it, which spooked it and caused it to run away. They then heard another rustling and crashing noise, as if another similar creature had dropped out of another tree and then decided to call their dog off and run away themselves. According to the father, the entire encounter lasted no longer than 10 seconds, and he was so startled, so shocked, and so terrified that whipping out his phone to take a video or a picture just never crossed his mind. That's what he says. I wanted to stop there and talk about that part because I know the skeptics will love the lack of photography on this one, but I think I can understand not thinking about needing proof in that moment. I mean, we jump to the conclusion that in today's society, the first thing anyone would ever do when something amazing happens is take a picture. And that's easy to believe given how screen addicted most of us are. But from personal experience, I have had situations where something weird or crazy or uncanny has happened and taking a picture never crossed my mind until much later. So has anything like this ever happened to either of you? Have you ever witnessed something crazy? You know, it doesn't have to be paranormal, but just like something really amazing and you never even thought to take a photo of it or a video.
I was trying to think of something. I don't know that anything has happened that I actually would have been able to capture on photo that's been kind of weird or anything like that because it just happened so fast that it's sometimes when things that are amazing happen, it just goes by so quickly that you kind of just experience it instead, which I think is good and bad for different reasons.
The guy said it only took 10 seconds, the whole sighting, and like that's not that much time.
I bet it was the longest 10 seconds of his life.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I was thinking that as I said that, but I understand it. But what about you, Jessica?
So I do have something. It took me a second to think about. One time I went fishing by myself and I had like a special spot that I like to go, and I'll try to set up the layout because it does matter. It was close to where me and you used to live when we were little, a couple miles north, a state park or metro park or something. It's down this big hill that farmers use, and there's like a road on it, and then there's like this big flat, and then there's a pond in the middle fed from a natural spring. The spot I was standing was like a drop down, so you had like the bank, and then there was like a little spot you could step down into, and I liked being in there because it was comfortable and I could lean up against like the walls and stuff. So in the lower peninsula, you guys probably know that we really don't have many bear sightings. If we do, they're usually way more north. I remember hearing that there was one years and years and years ago. Apparently a bear got hit on the road, a black bear, not like a grizzly, but which, if hopefully everybody knows, is a smaller version, a smaller bear compared to the two.
Yeah, grizzlies are huge.
Yeah. I was used to hearing like farmers and stuff in the background. A couple, half mile away, you could hear them a couple acres away. But this was like a pretty isolated area, so it's not like a lot of people would show up there. It was like you might see somebody once a summer else, like at the same time. I'm in there and I heard like this, like, I'm not gonna mimic it because I'm not good at sounds.
Okay.
But you know that generic bear growl sound that you hear? Like, I just said I wasn't gonna mimic it. Whatever. I lied.
But thank you, because I could not think of a bear sound and I was panicking.
Do you know what, like that that they do, like that weird, like gurgly growl thing they do?
For whatever reason, I can only think of Winnie the Pooh right now, so it's just not helping.
I think close. Not really. I think the movie's Big Brother or Brother Bear. That's what I'm thinking of, the
Okay.
growls that they did. Anyway, I heard something like that. I'm like, there's no way. And so like I looked over the little step down, like the recess I was sitting in, and like it came up to like my chest. It was pretty deep.
Mhm.
And I was looking out, like scanning to see like if something or someone was out there. And I saw like this big black thing, like, I don't know, probably about 100 yards away, or like 300 feet roughly. And I was like, what the hell is that? And I watched it, and it was running
Oh my
like on all
gosh.
fours. And I'm like, yeah. And it was like making noises, and it stopped, and it like stood up, and then it got back down on fours and ran. And I'm like, I ducked down. I was like, oh my God, there's a bear here. And nobody believes me.
I believe
Nobody
you.
believes me.
I believe you.
But I know what a dog would look like. I know what a coyote would look like. And if either of them were to stand up on their hind legs and whatever this thing did, we'd have a whole different
Yeah,
story.
then we'd be
But
talking
yeah,
about like
I was
skinwalkers, and I don't want
so
to talk about
scared.
skinwalkers right now.
Oh
So.
my gosh.
Why'd you do that? You don't do that, because those things do scare me a lot. But anyway,
As they should.
yes, for real. Yeah, I saw that, and as soon as I ducked down, I got my phone out. First off, didn't have service because I tried calling my brother because I was panicking. And then second, I'm like, I should have taken a picture. And when I peeked my head back over, which was dumb in hindsight, peeked my head back over, it was gone. And then I was like, oh my God, I don't know where it is.
Oh my
So then I
gosh.
sat in that little recess for about an hour and a half panicking. And that was it. So no picture, but I know what I saw. It was a bear. I know what I saw. Nobody believes me though.
It's funny because you saw a bear, which is a real animal, right? And nobody believes you
Supposedly.
because you didn't get a picture of it. Did you ever go fishing by yourself again after that?
Yeah, because I'm nuts.
Okay, just so we know.
But no, okay, so this is me being gutsy. I'm pretty sure I could scare a bear if I had to.
I could take a
That's a
bear.
really dumb thing to say, but for real, like, I think I could scare it away. It's
Well,
fine.
probably. I mean,
I've seen real black bears in person, but it was only in Tennessee. I've never seen them here.
they're definitely
To
around.
be fair, that was the only one I've seen in Michigan.
That's pretty amazing though, but it would be terrifying.
Hated every second of it.
Yeah.
I saw a coyote when I was camping once, and it was really close to the campground, and that was terrifying because it was
That was recently.
They're assholes.
yeah, it was
They're
last year.
assholes.
It was in our campsite, so it was right by one of my tents. Like it came up to us, so it was pretty scary.
Did you take a picture of it?
No, because I was trying to not.
Then I don't
Dun, dun,
believe
dun.
you.
Yeah, we were trying to scare it away. We had two
Yeah.
invasions. That was in Hocking Hills in Ohio,
Invasions.
which it's a beautiful place. We were staying in the rustic campground, so it's a little bit more
thank you.
in the woods and spaced out. And we had visitors from coyote and raccoons, and I liked the raccoons more, but I was a little on
Yeah.
edge because of the coyote sighting the night before. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a bear is a whole other level of scary.
Yeah, I don't suggest it. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Do not
10 out
recommend
of
that
10 do
experience.
not
Like I said,
recommend.
I sat in that recess for an hour and a half with no phone service, thinking I was gonna die if I got up. So it was great.
Yeah, when you were
Great.
saying that you poked your head out, I was like, the bear was right there staring at you. Like that's what I imagined, but I knew the story, so I don't know why I imagined that. So all right, so yeah, I just
Winnie the
wanted
Pooh.
to ask you guys first because I do have like a long thing to say about this, which hopefully is interesting. So whenever I think about this, when people say like, oh yeah, this crazy thing happened and it just never occurred to me to take a picture, I always think of this great paranormal podcast that I used to listen to called Our Strange Skies, a really great show if you're interested in the history of the UFO phenomenon. Unfortunately, the host, Rob Christofferson, he no longer releases episodes, but it's definitely worth listening to. I think it's probably the best UFO podcast there is. But anyway, I wanted to credit Rob here because it was on his show that I first heard the phrase paranormal apathy. It's this phenomenon where someone has a paranormal experience and in the moment doesn't feel any fear, anxiety, or even really interest in what's happening. They see something and they feel nothing. They don't feel the need to take a photo, call the police, run away, nothing. There's even stories where people see totally crazy things like a ghost standing at the foot of their bed or an alien gray standing in their front yard. And their response is to like go to bed. That's how they respond to it. They don't think like, oh shit, I should run away or I should tell someone or I should take a picture or or defend myself. They just go, huh, and go to bed. And then it's not until the following morning that they realize how strange their behavior was or how incredible the thing they saw was. So obviously you, Jessica, you were really scared when you saw the bear, but it wasn't really a paranormal sighting. But this is actually documented a lot in witness accounts. I just wanted to credit Rob for that because I've never heard anybody else use the phrase paranormal apathy, so I don't know if he coined that phrase, but it's definitely a really interesting phenomenon. And the two of you already know this, but I have had 2 UFO sightings. And the only reason I took photos of the second one is because I beat myself up so much about not photographing the first one. It quite honestly didn't cross my mind at the time. And as an aside, when I had my second UFO sighting and I took a billion pictures of them and showed them to some people online, they just immediately asked me why I didn't take any videos. So there's really no winning when it comes to this sort of thing. It is what it is. There's no photos of this Bigfoot. The man, he didn't take a picture, but what he did do was immediately report the sighting to BFRO, the Bigfoot Field Research Organization. He reported it the day the sighting happened. So the report, which is labeled as report number 78631, was subsequently investigated by them and deemed to be a credible sighting. According to the BFRO website, they organize sightings into one of 3 classes, A, B, or C. Class A sightings are the most credible, as the potential for misinterpretations such as mistaking a bear for a Bigfoot can be ruled out due to the extreme closeness and clarity of the sighting. Class B sightings are those where a creature is seen at a great distance, and therefore misidentification is highly possible. Class C are the most unreliable, as they are second-hand or third-hand reports, which are difficult or impossible to corroborate. BFRO classified the Monroe sighting as a Class A sighting, so it was the best type possible.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I thought that was amazing. Something else interesting I noticed when I was on the BFRO website and I was reading about this case was that I remembered reading in more than one of the news stories that this animal looked at the witnesses and approached them in a curious or even threatening way. But when I read the actual report submitted by the witnesses in their own words, they specifically stated that the creature never faced them. It moved in their general direction, but it did not look at them. And there was no indication that they even believed that the creature realized that they were there. So I wonder why this bit of information was apparently fabricated somewhere down the line. I'm guessing just one person fabricated it and then the other news stories just picked it up secondhand. I mean, I guess it makes the story more dramatic, but I mean, it was already a story about Bigfoot. I mean, what do you guys think about that? Like, why would they make up this one fact?
That's a really hard question to answer. I would say just probably word of mouth. They heard something and it probably just spun. Like it's kind of like that telephone game. Like if
Yeah.
one person says something, it kind of gets misconstrued. You
Yeah.
can say jingle bells, jingle all the way, and by the time it gets down to the other end, Jumanji is in the jungle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just that it's not even miscommunication. It's just they spun it however they thought.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, definitely one person changed the facts and then it did get passed along down the line. So I was just wondering, like, why, like, if you're writing a story about Bigfoot, I mean, it's already a story about Bigfoot, right? It's already like really interesting. So, like, why do you have to try to add an element to it to make it even scarier or more interesting? I don't know. It just seemed pointless to me to undermine the credibility, like, when the story was already really interesting. I suspect it's probably just more lazy journalism and a general lack of respect for the topic. You know, people are just like, well, it's a Bigfoot story. Who cares? I mean, that's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, it might be somebody just adding their own interpretation to it. Like maybe they even just
Yeah.
read it incorrectly, or
Yeah, it could have been that.
like the face was not like a bear and was more like a gorilla, so maybe
Mhm.
they interpreted that as it faced them.
That's a good point.
In reality, they kind of said it dropped down and the dog chased it away.
Yeah.
So they might have seen the face, but it might have not seen them. And that might have just been reported wrong in the next article.
Yeah, yeah. The BFRO website is pretty clear about stating that it did not face them, it didn't look at them or anything like that, but who knows? I mean, maybe I'm just being salty about it, but I mean, to the point though about making the story more sensational, the actual report actually has information in it though that is pretty sensational that I didn't see reported anywhere. So I thought that was kind of weird. The actual report also states that the witnesses got a full view of the creature's hairy backside and they saw, and I quote, big butt cheeks. I read at least half a dozen articles. I might have even read like a full dozen of articles, and none of them said anything about a big, bootyful Bigfoot. It just seems like, doesn't that seem like what they would lead with? Especially if they're the type of people who want to make fun of this case. Wouldn't that be what they started with? Like, I just don't get it.
I don't think so. I think sorry. I think that okay, hold on. Whew. So I don't think so because just imagine starting your news thing. Monroe County, big bootyful Bigfoot.
I'm in.
You know what I mean? Like they're not
Tell me
like
more.
we might like that, right? Like we might like that, but that's not that people are going to instantly tune out. They're going to be like, "Shut up." So they do it like people claim they saw this, instead. But I mean, it's kind of like Mothman. Like he's got cheeks clapping over there. So like
Yeah, the statue does. I don't think there's any actual
well,
reports of Mothman being like what how do they say caked up or whatever, but
listen. If somebody, you know what, I just like to imagine it that way. So I just always imagine that all cryptids are curvilicious.
so many good
I think
words
that may be
today.
why they didn't report it. It's so many, so many.
I guess I can accept that. I don't know. It just seems like such a waste to me to create one incorrect and boring fact when you already have a perfectly good story about a butt. You couldn't riff off of that. I don't know. It's just disappointing. I'm just disappointed in them. So obviously, I'm not out here to prove or disprove the existence of Bigfoot. I'm obviously not reliable, but it's not one of those paranormal stories I'm too deeply invested in either. I mean, I am interested. I like watching documentaries about Bigfoot and stuff, but it's not like something I feel super strongly about, like I feel with the possibility of extraterrestrial life, like that sort of thing. If there's Bigfoot, it doesn't shatter my worldview. If there's not Bigfoot, it doesn't shatter my worldview. But I don't understand why people make so much fun of it because I don't have such a hard time believing it. That's basically how I feel about it. I personally have no reason to dismiss these witnesses or this sighting. I mean, I don't think they sound super unreliable. They sound like normal people, as whatever normal means. They saw something and they tried to do the right thing by reporting it. People don't typically profit from a rural cryptid hoax, and it doesn't seem like they're trying to do anything with it. They just kind of saw it, reported it, and then they never did anything else. There's no physical evidence to prove that this sighting happened, but there's also no evidence to prove it didn't happen, and that's just how it typically goes with a cryptid sighting. I did not want to go the entire episode without mentioning a possible historic precedent for this sighting. So April actually sent me this amazing source, which talks about a cryptid that people call the Monroe Monster. And since I was only searching for Bigfoot specifically, I completely missed this in my research. So thank you, April.
Yeah, of course.
I had actually never even heard of the Monroe Monster before. Had anybody heard of this monster? I didn't.
I have not.
No, that's why I was so excited when I found the article because I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. I haven't heard of anything. I didn't know we had any other local cryptids besides the Michigan Dogman.
Yeah, no, I had never heard of it. So this sighting happened in August 1965 in Monroe, Michigan. So the exact same area of the 2025 sighting that we're talking about right now. This source, which comes from wildmanofthewoods.com, talks about a mother and a daughter who came upon the creature while driving at night. So again, it's a story about a parent and their child coming across something scary. But this story is a lot scarier and a lot more dramatic than the 2025 sighting. I'm going to go ahead and just read a direct passage from the article, a couple direct passages. With no time to react, Christine and her mother were confronted by a towering presence, a creature standing at 7 feet tall and weighing approximately 400 pounds. Its body was covered in long, black, coarse hair. Without warning, the creature lunged at their car, reaching in through the open window with a hand that seemed more human than beast. The encounter was brief but intense, ending as the creature withdrew and vanished into the night as suddenly as it had appeared. So yeah, terrifying. So that was my open window reference for you, Jessica.
Hate that.
Great.
Yeah. Yep.
But what made it even scarier for me is that earlier in the article, it's noted that there had been other sightings of this creature and that the state police had been receiving reports for a full 2 months prior to this sighting. The creature is referred to as the Monroe Monster or the Monroe County Monster, but the description is undeniably similar to what our witnesses from today's story saw. Something that was around 7 feet tall, 400 pounds, and had a body covered in long black hair. So, I mean, what do you guys think? What did those people in Monroe see in 2025? Do you think they saw anything? What do you think they saw?
I was gonna make a joke about seeing one of my exes, but I won't go there. No, I mean, it's hard. Like, I guess because it could be somebody telling me that I didn't see a bear, and I'd be like, okay, thank you for that. I'm gonna move on.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just don't know what the benefit of making up a story like that is. It sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think they definitely saw something. I have no idea what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds terrifying and fascinating. I don't know. It's one of those things that I'm like, I kind of wish I had more experiences, but then I'm like, no, I don't. I can't handle that.
Yeah, I think that's what we all think until it happens. But yeah, I mean, honestly, what is weirder to the skeptics? Do the skeptics just assume everyone is lying? I mean, I guess that's what they're doing. They're just assuming everyone's lying. And I mean, that is the easiest explanation, but it doesn't compute for me. I mean, not everybody can be lying. It's just, it doesn't make sense.
I was trying to think about it and I was like, well, if you're talking about something that's covered in long black hair, the first things that come to mind for me is like a black bear or a gorilla.
Sure.
Honestly, a black bear or a gorilla doesn't sound more comforting to me to be out there in the
Yeah.
wild. Why does it matter
Yeah.
if it's a Bigfoot or a gorilla or a bear? Like it's just one, it's just like we
Yes.
have evidence of two of those existing. Maybe one is just more elusive or more rare.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why people like to say, nah, you just saw a bear. No, maybe it was an escaped gorilla or something. It's just like, that's not any less scary.
Yeah, the whole escaped gorilla
Yeah.
thing drives me crazy because I'm just like, but what's weirder though? Bigfoot or an actual gorilla in the Midwest, in Michigan?
Well, that or like if people say that and they're like, well, what if it was just somebody in a costume? Like, my God, do you want some big weird man in a costume coming in trying to reach into your car?
No.
Like, or falling out of a tree? Like, all of that sounds terrifying. I guess I'd rather have it be something I can't explain. I don't want to
Mhm.
believe that a guy's dressed up in a suit trying to get in my car. That's not cool.
Yeah, that's even scarier than like
Yeah,
a
I'll
wild
take the
animal.
animal.
I didn't consider that one. That's the scariest explanation.
Yep,
I had
it
a whole
is.
thing where I was like, "Oh, what do you think is scarier?" That's scarier. That's
Yep.
100% scarier that it's a human. I didn't even think about that. As usual, I'll leave it up to you all to decide for yourselves. I think I'm going to be optimistic today. I think they saw a Bigfoot because why not? I don't believe they saw a gorilla in Michigan. So if it wasn't a gorilla and it wasn't a bear, then what else was it? I don't know. So, and I guess that is it for the paranormal panel discussion, which is a title I just made up.
It's perfect.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much for participating in this episode. That was a lot of fun for me. Hopefully it was fun for you and hopefully it was fun for everyone else.
Very much enjoyed it.
Thank you for having us. It was a lot of fun.
So that brings us to the end of Monroe Bigfoot 2.0. We spent some time analyzing the area of Michigan and discussed whether or not this was a strange area for such a sighting to occur. We even found a historical precedence for this case in the form of the Monroe Monster from the 1960s. We went over the news reports and discussed the disappointing trend of automatic dismissal. Newsflash, reporters, belittling witnesses does not make you good at your job. We also talked about the investigation done by the Bigfoot Field Research Organization and discussed how we felt about this as locals to the area. A big thanks to April and Jessica for helping me out with this topic. I'm sure we'll be seeing them again soon for more of the wonderful and weird. This episode was so much fun to make, so I hope you all enjoyed it. If you'd like to share your story for the podcast, be a guest on the show, suggest an episode, or collaborate in some way, please send me an email at paranormaloptimist@gmail.com. Go to the episode description to see where you can follow the show and check out the sources I cited for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Paranormal Optimist. This show is written, produced, and presented by me, and my name is Stephanie. The music in today's episode was obtained royalty-free from Purple Planet Music. See you next time!